Welcome to the Hey Jimmy podcast. For years, these five fools have spent way too much time together debating the most idiotic notions. Now they are recording for your pleasure. Put on your thinking caps and strap in for some weird and wild talking points.
Hey, Jimmy! Hey. Welcome, everybody, to another fantastic episode of Hey Jimmy. I'm Steve.
I'm Carrie.
Joe.
And we are 3 of 5 pieces of the Hey Jimmy crew. Currently, we're down a couple of our cohorts, but they have lives.
Indeed.
We couldn't complete the puzzle this week.
Yeah, we were missing a couple of our pieces. Then again, sometimes they're missing a couple of their pieces too. So I mean,
Yeah, the piece count varies. Even
pieces of the mind.
Seriously, my mind is like the little Trivial Pursuit thing where you have to get the little chippies inside, and the chippies are falling out all the time.
Around the holidays it gets busy, so it's like get a little tired and draggy,
and plus there's a bunch of stuff to do. There's actually a town by us that lights up a 25 foot metal chicken as one of their events.
Sounds like a very Georgia thing to happen.
It is. It's the poultry state. So that's something we would like to do over the next couple of weekends, is check out the chicken.
Well, that sounds like a lot of fun. I'm a little upset that I'm not going to be able to experience that with you, but maybe next year.
Maybe next year you can come and check out the lighting of the chicken.
Yeah, we were talking. A couple of us were talking that we might come down to you guys at some point soon. I was talking with Leanna, and we were talking about like maybe sometime soon we'll come down and visit you guys.
Holy crap!
Cool.
That would be.
Obviously, I'm going to extend the offers to Nick and Alex, but it was something we kind of talked about briefly the other day. So
yeah, we have one extra bedroom. We have it's
oh no, we're not gonna impede on you. We'll just get a room and a hotel and stay there.
Oh, now you're saying our home?
No. I'm saying there's going to be a lot of us. I'm anticipating that Alex and Nick won't say no.
Well, I'm just saying we have a spare room with full-size bed, so...
Very, very fair. Thank you for that.
You have your own bathroom. Just putting it out there. The one glitch is that we can't run more than one water source in here. Perks of a rental, so you just have to make sure, you're not going to the bathroom while somebody else is in the shower or something.
Oh, totally we'll do that. I won't even go to the bathroom. I'll just flush the toilet on you, just to...
It's not even a matter of temperature. It's a matter of the water's left pretty much at a dripping consistency.
You
don't when you're in there.
Question good water pressure until you don't have good water pressure.
Fair. And it's really sad when we go visit places, even crappy hotels, and it's like, oh, the water pressure is so good.
just a drastic improvement.
It's just one of the things, I love being home, but that's one of the things I never miss from home when we go away is we're bound to have a better shower than at home.
It sounds like you need to contact your building about how poor their building is assembled. I'm sure you have a landlord.
One of the reasons why our rent is so affordable, because
it's an old building.
Yeah, everything's
There's
old.
only one trunk line from the water pipe, so
I'd say fixing that might be worth a price hike a little bit.
It's not a point of fixing it. You'd have to dig into the foundations and completely replace the plumbing.
Yeah, at some point it's worth it.
Yeah, they're not going to do that, Steve.
You don't know unless you ask, Joe. Maybe they were already thinking about it and they just needed somebody to push them over the edge to make that leap. You're never going to know unless you try, Joe. Put your mind to it.
I don't think so.
Oh, that's it.
Well, I mean, while we're on the topic of showers, Gonna lead us right in.
Nice
I'm gonna
segue.
segue right into our new, as Carrie
Steve,
wants to
you have the
refer to
most
it.
awkward transitions.
Listen, you got to lean into it sometimes. Carrie wants to refer to our segments as side pieces, so I think that might be something we do from now on. We're just gonna refer to it as our side piece, our shower thoughts. And my shower thought was, we always talk about how, we don't want to be the bearer of bad news, or that we are the bearer of bad news. Who was the first bearer of bad news? Somebody had to have been known as the bearer of bad news for just constantly delivering bad news, right? Because, otherwise, where would we have gotten
Town
this?
crier.
Yeah, right.
Town crier.
The double entendre.
I guess it also depends on, what your definition of bad news is, because, religious leaders would also be telling you, oh, your life is sucking because you're making bad choices. So
Yeah, but that's...
I guess, it depends on what you qualify as the news.
I guess so, but the way I see it is okay, well, we have somebody who's constantly telling us that something bad has either happened or is happening, right? So that has to be your bad news, and it can be the church, but I feel like people looked up to the church, so they wouldn't have referred to it in the church sense, right? It's got to be one of those, somebody was just constantly oh man, we're about to be attacked. Oh man, we're being attacked again. Oh man, we're being attacked again. And just just constantly being the one to inform everybody that there's a problem. And that having how it happened, but I want to know is that something that somebody came up with, who was that first person?
The first person that ever started walking into rooms to eye rolls, oh my god, what is this asshole gonna say now?
The first person to eye roll, right? Who was the first person to go, oh my god, just shut up, and do the eye roll and go, and then somebody just going, what did you do with your eyes? I don't know, you just pained me so much I had to roll my eyes.
The birth of sarcasm. What was that movie with Ricky Gervais where he was in that thing where nobody could lie, and
I don't know.
That just kind of reminded me the birth of lying and sarcasm, because I guess depending on how you look at it, sarcasm could be borderline lying, but yeah. But I guess you're probably right about the town crier being the first bearer of bad
it does
news.
make a bit of sense.
There goes Joe
Who
being the
knows?
classic smarty pants.
Yeah, it's one of those things. I couldn't even locate anything that was any sort of relevant to it. So I don't know where this term came from, and I'm really intrigued. If anybody happens to know, please let us know. I am super eager to figure this out. But that was my shower thought this week.
Or if you are a bearer of bad news, confess up.
Yeah, confess in the comments on our Instagram.
Just don't bear it over here.
All right, so why don't we move over into our main topic today? Our main topic is, what would you have done if you were Kevin McCallister in Home Alone?
I probably would have burned down the house accidentally.
I mean, you are at that point, what, 8, 10 years old, something like that, right? So, I mean, can happen. I definitely lit a paper towel on fire once when I was that age.
Yeah, my brother almost burned down my grandma's house. He put the stove was on for some reason, or maybe he turned it on accidentally. And then, he turned the stove on, lit a paper towel or napkin or something, and then it got on fire. And then when it came towards his fingers, he threw it in the trash can, and then waited for a few seconds before he went to my mom and said, "Mom, the trash can is on fire."
Classic.
And that's why my grandmother never trusted Greg after that.
It's a good reason to not trust him, I would say,
And then me and my cousin emptied out those pop things from in July 4th that you throw on the ground.
Mm.
We emptied a bunch of those into a tissue, bunched it up and threw it at the side of her house and made a big scorch mark on her vinyl.
Oh my god.
Jeez. Oh.
And that's when she learned not to trust me or my cousin.
That is.
You didn't tell me that one.
And of course, this was all like, I was probably 10 or younger. And Greg, when he did the fire thing, was I mean, he was like 5 or 6, probably at that point.
And now he's a firefighter.
As if there were
Going in a circle.
If there wasn't warning signs before, there should be now. I when I was a kid, I think it was maybe like somewhere between 8 and 10. My brother was actually sleeping in the living room, but I didn't want to wake him up. And I'm like, oh, I just want to have some toast. So I went and I threw toast in the toaster oven, and I knew that the toaster oven was going to be hot, so I needed a towel. Well, instead of grabbing a towel, I grabbed a paper towel, and I went to go touch the metal, and then the towel started lighting on fire. And I'm like, oh, that's not good. And I walked over to the sink, I threw it in the sink, and I turned on the water. And I'm like, yay, I put out the fire. And then I went back to go grab my toast with an actual towel, not a paper towel. And then I had my breakfast, and then I went back upstairs. Later that day, my mom goes, "Did you make toast this morning?" And I was like, "Yeah." She goes, "Did you light a paper towel on fire this morning?" I was like, "Not on purpose." And I explained the whole thing, and she's like, "Yeah, you shouldn't use the toaster oven anymore." And I was like, "Why? I did the right thing though. I put out the fire, right?" she goes, "Well, yes, but," and I'm like, "So what's wrong then?" Like, I learned my lesson is to not use the paper towel anymore, and I put out the paper towel fire.
Yeah.
I'm like, but that was probably a moment that she decided not to trust me in the kitchen.
Yeah. Speaking of toaster ovens, I had a high school chemistry teacher who probably doesn't shock anybody after this story, is like one of the reasons I got into chemistry. He would set off the fire alarms at least once a year doing something. And so we had a fire alarm my senior year. It wasn't a drill, it was an actual alarm. We got out there, saw Mr. Ground, and I was like, "Mr. Ground, did you set off the fire alarm?" Like joking. He was like, "Yeah, I was heating up my pizza in the toaster." And the toaster was the one with like with the slots. So I guess he was trying to heat it up in there, and the cheese dripped and created smoke. And then his takeaway from that was, next time he's going to put the toaster on its side and then heat up the pizza. And that's one of my early mentors.
Wow.
Amazing.
Which says a lot.
I mean, he knows it's still the same heating elements on the side. I guess he didn't realize that, right?
But it won't drip if it's like just sitting on the piece of toast and not able to go flat. So he's thinking, okay, well, if I move it onto its side, then the cheese doesn't have anywhere to drip because it's just going to stay on the piece of toast. I see what he's saying, but that's not what that toaster is for.
I guess, but there's still always the little bit that drips over the sides, so probably not enough to cause the fire alarm.
Did you guys see that new $400 toaster?
What?
No.
What does it do?
It's a digital toaster. It has like a touch screen on it, and you tell it like what you're trying to toast, how much you want it toasted, and it has like, I think like a little moisture pod or something inside of it, so like it can kind of like keep the toast from becoming dried out and like too dried out, but it also toasts it enough that it has a little bit of a crunch. But it's like way expensive. You definitely don't need it. You can do everything that it's doing just by learning how to use your own toaster oven. But they try to sell the perfect piece of toast every time kind of logic. And it's basically just like one of those stand-up toasters with just an LCD screen on the front of it. And you just, by telling it, oh, I'm using multigrain bread, or a bagel, or an English muffin, or a biscuit, or whatever it happens to be, you telling it the exact type, and then it cooks based on what you told it.
That sounds like on the level of a towel warmer. If I had a bunch of money to blow, I'd get a towel warmer and that digital toaster.
All right, so you would probably burn down the house, but what we, let's assume that the premise is that, someone's breaking into the house that you're staying in, and they're just these two guys that are just trying to hunt you down and grab you. How do you...
as an 8-year-old, first I'm crapping my pants.
I feel like most people would be terrified, but for some reason he's not, which makes me think that he's a sociopath.
He might, and to be fair, part of it, he starts out kind of oblivious. Like, you think your family just disappeared because the cars are still in the garage and that they got picked up to go to the airport.
But then can make an obstacle course and traps and stuff like that. Like, just, oh, well, there's all this stuff here. I can just put all this stuff together and get rid of them myself. But, like, you couldn't figure out that your family left for the trip and you stayed asleep. Also, can we talk about how bad of parents that they are?
Yeah.
That's a classic discussion.
The fact that you don't have a checklist,
Well, they did count the number of heads. They just didn't realize that one head was the neighbor kid.
It's just one of those where all the dominoes fall perfectly. Like the idiot kid from... They don't even specify where this kid came from. This kid who lives somewhere in the neighborhood is at some other family's house in the morning. Like, where are your parents where you should be home and not in, like, basically a shuttle bus that another family's using? Why is this kid over here?
Well, I mean, to one extent, kids went to go to other kids' houses or whatever, or they went out to play or whatever, and maybe got, that can happen. It's weird. Definitely it requires a lot of stretching of the imagination, but,
One of the things that always got me is that, I feel like generally parents know their kids pretty well. And, I know Buzz is just supposed to be the big jerk-faced character, but I'm like, if you were his parents, why are you falling for his bullshit? Especially in the second movie where he's giving that BS apology after embarrassing Kevin during the pageant. And he's like, I'm so sorry that I embarrassed Kevin and blah, blah, blah. If I was that kid's parent, I'd be like, Buzz, bullshit, try again.
You're
grounded. It's just a movie, right?
It is. But that's what I'm just saying. I mean, I understand it's a movie, but that was just one of those things that always got me, was that his parents couldn't see through his bullshit when he obviously does it all the time.
Yeah. And, to that same point, the children, right? So you know who your troublemakers are. Kevin won't wake up in time. So the fact that Kevin is not the first thing on your mind because Kevin might be slacking off or not getting ready or be the slacker that's not going to get in the car and hold everybody else up, that's the person you look for. You look not at the number of heads, you look at a checklist, basically. You roll call everybody if you got it.
I just also find it kind of funny that it's the youngest kid who's classically the one that has the most attention that gets left behind. But at the same time, they also make it like he's incompetent because his parents do everything for him. So they obviously
don't have the time to teach him how to do it.
They obviously pay attention to him at every other time, maybe, except when they go on vacation.
Yeah, except for when they're in a rush. Then they forget he exists.
Oh, it's I always got it that I always took it as he's the youngest kid, and typically the youngest kid, if you have like a big family, gets the least amount of attention, especially once they're not like babies or whatever. And so he had to figure out how to do a lot of this stuff on his own.
Or when you jump on the staircase and yell, I'm living alone!
Exactly.
I mean, really, as a whole family, they're pretty terrible.
I mean, I think it would be
Parents.
fine until I started running out of food that I could realistically make. Like as an 8 to 10-year-old kid, I wouldn't know how to make frozen chicken breast into actual food successfully.
He ordered pizza. Steve.
Yeah, but with what money? My parents went with their credit cards and their other stuff. What am I going to order with? I don't have money. I'm 8 to 10 years old.
He got money from Buzz's life savings.
Yeah. He took
okay,
Buzz's
fine.
money.
Yes. Sure.
The kid is smart.
That would yes, you. But
he's like too smart for his own good.
Right. And that is a situation that would work, but if we took a smaller family, even I was the oldest of me and my younger brother, when we were there, and then when my my older brother and sister were around, they didn't have things at our house, so I would have been screwed,
Yeah,
it's not at least not that I know of anyway. They didn't exactly keep valuables that I could use to like get food at our place. So I would have, but then again, I guess I could have just gone to a neighbor's house. I could have gone.
But none of the neighbors were home.
If none of the neighbors are home, then I guess nobody's gonna notice anything then. But I would think that some neighbors would have to be home.
That was the whole thing about them robbing the neighborhood is nobody was home that week.
Yeah, because of the holiday.
I thought it was nobody was gonna be home in that house, not in the neighborhood.
No, in the whole neighborhood because that's why he was taking note, like he was pretending to be a cop because he was going and casing who was, gonna not be there for the holidays and then looking at all their timed lights.
Okay. Hey, you know what? It's been a long time
like
since
Steve needs to watch Home Alone.
It's been a long time since I've watched it. I'm gonna have to rewatch it now.
Really?
Yeah,
we watch it like every Christmas.
See, my every Christmas movie is Die Hard, so that's what I have.
Well,
to watch.
you can watch more than one movie. Steve.
I could, but I barely have time as it is, so I make sure that Die Hard is the first thing on the list. My mom, she watches A Christmas Story every Christmas. She has to watch it like basically that and The Bishop's Wife. I think that's what it's called.
The Preacher's Wife?
No, I don't think there was Preacher.
I have no idea what you're talking about either way.
It's
Is it Whitney Houston? It's definitely The Preacher's Wife.
No, it's definitely older than that. Yeah, The Bishop's Wife, 1947.
Oh yeah.
It's The Bishop's Wife.
Not It's a Wonderful Life?
No, it's not that.
Not White Christmas?
No, but those are the two that my mom usually gravitate to, and now they have obviously a Christmas Story Christmas. I didn't actually ask my mom to see if she knew that was a thing, but I could surprise her with that later.
Talking about the new one.
Yeah, it's the new one. It's like the sequel to A Christmas Story.
We know. We just watched it.
I haven't watched it yet, so don't spoil anything on me.
No.
It's actually pretty good.
Yeah.
I don't know. Assuming
surprisingly.
Yeah. All right. Well, I'll have to make sure I'm watching intently because I have a feeling if I put it on Christmas, it's just going to be distraction after distraction.
Yeah, you put the first one on Christmas because everyone's seen it a million times.
Right.
But I think I would have called the cops way before Kevin did.
Oh.
He doesn't call the cops until they're,
basically trapped
in the thick of his traps. Yeah. If there were weird dudes standing outside my house, that would have been the point. I called the cops and said, "There's some guys."
I'm home alone, and there's a weird guy outside of our house.
Yeah, that brings up a good point. Like, I probably would have gone to the cops as soon as I realized I was home alone and didn't know where anybody else was at that age.
Yeah. Although then you get taken to Child Protective Services and never see your parents ever again.
Well, you don't never see them again, Stephen. Your parents just have to go through a bunch of BS before they can get you back.
Well, we're also talking about the 90s where things were a little more flexible.
That's true.
I suppose.
I mean, I don't know. Would it take place now or in the 90s? Because if it was now, you'd definitely be taken away and never given back to your parents.
Definitely.
Like, Home Alone 2 would not have happened because Kevin would have been in foster care.
Or it would have happened under a completely different house, and he's just assaulting random people because he doesn't know who they are, and he just thinks that they're bad.
Yeah, I don't think they could do a realistic sequel these days without CPS being involved.
Yeah, I think you'd be right on that one. But I mean, assuming that the premise, right? We're an 8 to 10-year-old kid home alone, and this guy trying to case the house, and we have to set up a whole bunch of traps, right? Let's go with that premise, and let's say I feel like I would do something that's like I would end up damaging the house drastically by trying to set up traps.
Oh, for sure.
They make it seem like, he didn't do any, he's just, smart and he's outwitting them. And no, I'm pretty sure if I set up something like the paint cans going down the hallway, that it just bashes into like the wall and just like makes dents in every single wall.
He's also going up against two of the biggest idiots, so he's got that on his side also. Harry and Marv, they're pretty dumb.
Yeah. But then, it's like, okay, well, sure, I'll hide upstairs maybe, and I'll make the stairs as slippery as possible. Like, that might be something I can try to plan, but if they're already in the house, there's no time to do that. The best thing you could do is, like, hide under, the vanity sink or something like that. Inside the cabinets.
I don't see myself setting traps. I see myself throwing knives or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Carry the knife thrower.
Or baseball bat.
A bat, take up a chair.
Oh, I mean, there was definitely a situation when my older brother heard a noise in the like the downstairs area, and I was asleep, and my younger brother was asleep, and he had heard a noise, and our parents weren't around for the weekend, and we were a little bit older, but my brother heard something downstairs and he didn't know what it was. It spooked him, so he's like, so he woke me up, and I'm like, okay, I'm getting up. He woke up. He tried to wake up my little brother, and he sleeps like a truck apparently, because he just would not budge. We were like basically punching him in the stomach, and he just wouldn't move. So it just comes down, like, we basically had him sit at the top of the stairs with one of our cell phones, ready to dial 911 in the event that something was actually wrong. I think I went into, like, my closet, and I had, from when I was a little kid, like, a toy shotgun. So,
Yeah.
like, I took the toy shotgun. We started heading downstairs with it, or just like looking around the corners, just to like kind of try to scare somebody if they would be down there. Right? We get around and we find out it was just a laundry detergent fell off the shelf, so it was just a giant mess on the floor. But like my brother was a little spooked, and rightfully so. God forbid you don't want to be asleep while someone's raiding the house. But
True. Or maybe you do because it'll go by faster.
yeah. Oh, I guess so. But
Get murdered
yeah,
without
exactly.
you knowing it.
You die in your sleep. You don't feel anything that way, right?
You don't pee yourself that way.
That's kind of the level that we went. But that was in like more adulthood. Like when it's younger.
Yeah.
I don't
But
like.
what if you were by
If I
yourself?
was by myself.
I mean, that's part of the whole
Yeah, well,
premise. He's by
I'm just saying, if I was by myself and I was upstairs and there was something downstairs and there were actually people down there, I'm staying upstairs, and I'm probably running into my parents' room using their phone, calling 911. But I gotta like tiptoe. It's like you gotta make sure you're not heard going into that room. But then I'm just calling 911, and then I'm probably hiding under the bed.
Or on the roof.
Hope the phone
I
line's
wouldn't be
not
able to get
cut.
onto. I mean, like, I guess it depends on how you get to the roof. I think in the movie you can get onto the roof a little easier, but like.
Yeah, if you have a second story window, you can just go out the window and onto the. We had Indiana. We had a house where
You had a balcony.
Well, it wasn't a balcony, but the second story window there was like a roof underneath it, so you could have climbed out onto the roof and.
See, the thing is, I'm afraid of heights, so that's never happening with me.
If there's fucking robbers with guns and shit that want to sexually abuse a little Steven, you might.
Kevin also could have hid out in the treehouse.
Yeah, true.
You could have done some moves, and I don't know if that would have helped your height thing. If you could have just quick gone and flown over to the treehouse.
We're talking to treehouse in the movie, or we're talking like just a treehouse in general? Because I didn't have a treehouse.
No, I didn't have a treehouse, but I'm just saying that theoretically was another. If we're in the Home Alone house, you have the option of the treehouse. That was the other thing too. I mean, we grew up in a ranch, so there's not many places to hide in there.
Yeah, except the basement.
In the basement, hide under some stuff.
Yeah, but I feel like that, at least in, like my basement, like I feel like that would be like a hidden target, so like I wouldn't have probably gone down there. I would have, like they would have gone for that basement. They wouldn't have. That's where they're going to find some valuables, or at least they think they might, so they're going to go down there. But up in the bedrooms, if somebody's home, they're not going to want to wake them. They're less likely to go upstairs, if they're smart, of course. And then you have
I don't know.
you have the Home
bedrooms
Alone
are where all
issue where they're stupid.
Bedrooms are where all the jewelry is. That shit's easy to pawn.
Yeah, the basement is where the
expensive.
junk is.
Yeah.
And if somebody wanted to go in my parents' basement, I'd be like, good luck.
I don't know. I was like, I think a smart person probably would avoid it. Like, because that would be obvious. But if they're actually home and you don't know about it, like you've now walked into their room and they're just looking at you, and now they've seen your face. Like,
Yeah, well, in Home Alone, though, they know, they think nobody is home, so they're not worried about all
right.
that.
But I'm saying, like, smart people would still be worried. or be more intently looking at the property.
So really, we kind of spent most of this bashing Home Alone, which I just want to put a disclaimer out there that I love that movie.
It's an enjoyable Christmas movie. It's just, it's got some flaws that in reality don't sit well. And I think everybody picks it apart for these various reasons. But
well, and time-wise, there's definitely aspects of it that don't hold up. Like everybody brings up pre 9/11 travel, and then the fact, that Kevin would definitely be in foster care.
Yep.
Especially in the second movie when the cops ask them, "Has anything like this happened before?" and the two of them are like nervously laughing because
no.
It's a McCallister holiday tradition.
Yeah, Kevin likes to stay home by himself on the holidays.
Every 8-year-old should spend 1 week home alone.
Could you imagine Nolan home alone for a weekend? Our little nephew.
That's why I was kind of leery of showing him that movie, because he would
Get
definitely
ideas.
be a little Kevin McCallister.
Oh yeah. That kid is demonic.
He's not demonic.
Demonic in a good, smart way. Like, he's a good kid or whatever, but he'd definitely get into trouble on his own.
He can be rambunctious.
Oh, just a little bit.
Most kids usually are when they're young.
Yeah.
Especially if they have
Especially,
siblings.
Yep.
Well, and that's
The older siblings.
The older siblings are, they were much more timid and followed things more to the line, and not Nolan.
Hopefully he doesn't
It's
turn
fine.
out that way and that everything works out just fine.
Mold breakers are great. They're creators and good idea people, so
Hopefully he just gets rich and
Not bad.
famous, and then he can take care of, Uncle Joe and Aunt Carrie, and,
he might.
help them live their best lives.
He, for a little rambunctious chump, he is pretty generous. He'll try to share his stuff, and
When he wants to.
no, like when we were around the fire at your parents, and I kept getting cold, so he was putting his hands over the fire and warming my face.
This is the same kid who wouldn't swap Goofy toys from McDonald's with you because he wanted the special edition.
But he thought it was funny too.
So he has
Now
his
apparently
moments,
it's
is what you're
set aside
saying.
to- Oh yeah, but don't we all?
He sounds a little bit like not to call it a kid an asshole. I'm just saying, asshole with nice tendencies here. I feel like that's what he's gonna potentially grow into.
I mean, you've met him.
I think like once.
At the wedding.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's true. He had a playmate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He was distracted a little bit.
Between that and the game room.
Yeah.
Tons of things to do there. Oh yeah, my because I was telling you guys, my brother actually went there for a wedding also. Same area. Not in the cabins, but they had there was another pavilion a little bit closer to the main road or whatever. That was the one that they had the wedding in, but they were also staying up in the mountains and everything. And
The one that was across the street.
he was talking about it. I think it was like the other road over or something. I don't remember what it was called.
Yeah, there's a bunch of
But
different.
yeah, there was like a pavilion. It was close to where the cabins were that we were staying in, but it was just another section of it. But it was but they did the whole shuttle thing to bring everybody down there, and he was going through the cabin, and I'm like, yeah, this looks like a very similar cabin. Yes.
Yep.
Yeah, evidently that shuttle driver was a little scary.
Really?
Yeah, going like pretty close to the cliff edge, going around corners to the other side.
I mean, that could also just be people's fear kicking in.
I don't know.
I don't know either.
I-
I'm terrified of heights, so I'm happy
I
that
heard
we
it
didn't
from
have
more
to do
than
that.
one source. Yeah.
We drove ourselves to our honeymoon cabin, so
Well, I mean, at least you had the ability to.
yeah.
Yeah. Yep. So,
All right. Well, I'd like to thank everybody for listening.
thank you.
Yes.
If you guys have any,
Except for you, and you know who you are.
that's right. You tell them, Joe. If anybody has any suggestions for, either have you have a shower thought recently, please let us know. Segment ideas, let us know on our socials. All the links are in our podcast description. Thanks for listening, and have a happy holidays.
Yeah, thanks for making it this far with us.
Hey,
Hey,
Jimmy!
Hey, Jimmy!
Thanks for listening to Hey Jimmy. Big shout out to Anthony Morantz for our voiceover, Skane Music for creating our intro, and Sergio Duarte for creating our cover art. All artists can be found on the freelance platform Fiverr. You can catch Hey Jimmy every week on all major streaming platforms.